Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I think we will wait for a few minutes still for some others to attend. We see that more people are coming in, so I wait for 2 minutes and then we start presenting. Well, I think the 2 minutes are over now, so I propose that we start with this webinar. Anyone who comes in late may look back the video in a later moment if he or she likes. But anyway, welcome to everyone attending this webinar. We are happy to meet you. Today, Marta and I will present a method for early assessing and comparing valorization pathways for agri-residues. This work is part of the AgriLoop project, which is oriented on developing sustainable valorizations of agri-residues to, amongst others, biopolymers and proteins. Our approach provides early estimates of yields to such products and of sustainability impact of these alternative uses. And we hope that this can support decision taking about which valorization option are most sustainable and add most value. Some housekeeping rules. I think you all are aware that this webinar is being recorded, so anything will be recorded and will be available later also. During the webinar, you can raise questions in the chat. Some will be answered during the session, and most likely we will have some time at the end to have a further discussion. Maybe I will answer the questions. Could also be that Marta or my colleague Julian Vogt, who is also a moderator of this session, can do the answering. Quick overview of this webinar. We start with an introduction, which is done by Marta. Next, we explain our tool, and after that, we give some examples of results that we have generated with the current version. And then we would like to ask you a number of questions. And in the end, there's also an option to raise further questions. Up to you, Marta.
Yeah, I will take control. Yes, good morning, everyone. Well, together with my colleague, we've both been working on this kind of work for a very long time. This is also one of the reasons I came to the Netherlands to work on this valorization. And well, today we will explore, I want to explore with you the key motivations of the framework and the framework that behind this development of decision support tool designed to optimize this management of and utilization of residues. There has been extensive research on this field of valorization of side streams, but in this webinar we'll be specifically focusing on agricultural residues and also secondary residues that are from this primary production. Yes, next slide. Yes, so first of all, one of the big motives of this decision support tool is that, well, climate change impacts and rising geopolitical tensions are needing to improve the resource use efficiency of agricultural products. And and what do we have? Well, we have a large amount of untapped residues, so that they are not exploited yet, with high value potential. We also have data models and in-depth multidisciplinary expertise. We also have knowledge on valorization. This is widely known also in literature, although there's more and more developments also coming up. The stakeholders and consumer needs that need to be considered, and also, well, in this climate change rising, there's also more droughts, floods, and crop diseases, which also have an impact on the yield production of crops. So what do we need? We need then new and adaptable circular and sustainable process concepts. We need a structure and a rapid assessment of new possible design scenarios. And for that, we need a flexible design approach to reuse what is already known. So the blueprints of these existing technological pathways and new ones to come. We also need to include moving targets from consumers, because all consumers also, we need to adjust to what is the demand for new products. And we need to do this at an early stage and in a rapid way. And we need to include these seasonal and fluctuating production volumes. So currently, the focus is primarily on linear economy. So that means to produce certain products and have a more or less straightforward use of byproducts. And of course, there's a lot of developments on that, but we want to have a more focus on reusing to have a total use of residues and also have a fast assessment to be able to adjust to these fixed and changing residues that appearing according to the different yielding crop. Well, all streams, in this case, if we look at a total use, all the streams would become relevant resources. And for different use, like for, well, textiles, plastics, food, feed, and also bioenergy. So this is something that we need to assess at an early stage. And of course, the challenge is to effectively fulfill the demand of all these products and have a resource efficiency and include also sustainability aspects in it. So the research questions that we will tackle here today is what changes in terms of agricultural residue valorization have the highest sustainability benefits. And this is today and tomorrow, because we can adapt to differences in crop yield and crop residues. And the potential uses or users of this application and also of this tool and framework are farmers, traders, cooperatives, and representative organizations. And the applications is to look at which byproducts have the highest potential and what applications are the most beneficial and sustainable with the available byproducts that we have yearly per country. And what challenges and how do we face and how to address them in terms of also quality and sustainability. So we also intend to focus on, for instance, also hazards and things like this. Well, the scope within AgriLoop is to valorize, as I mentioned, valorization of agri residues and primary production and secondary residues, and identify the processing pathways and destinations. And particularly, we want to address new pathways for biopolymers and also feed and food proteins versus current applications, which are already existing. And there is this food waste hierarchy that has been widely discussed already, but it has been found also a bit too simplified. Also, there's discussions in literature about this, and is not always contribute positively to environmental sustainability. So there's also a need for a more holistic understanding of this complex decision making. And also this food hierarchy is a bit rigid and assumes that all the residue streams have the same functional high value in the applications. So it also stops at the level of sometimes the factory gate. And instead of this rigid framework, we aim for a more holistic and sophisticated view on what is the most sustainable valorization pathway. So these methods will address how all these different aspects from sustainability simultaneously and with up-to-date information, so we can update also the annual crop yields and then integrate this in the assessment. And as mentioned, here you have, well, the status quo from the residue availability and current destinations, the stakeholders, and the technological blueprints. And these will be integrating within a multi-criteria decision framework. This model and multi-criteria decision will start with defining actors, stakeholders, and experts, identification of criteria and size stream availability and volumes per region. This is something we've already done and integrated. Then we have we need to set requirements and identify potential application and processing pathways per application and inventorize the hazards. And then within this tool, that Brevia tool that Jan Bruce will further explain later, we will estimate the yields to the different products. We will have an early assessment of environmental impacts and also evaluate hazards. And in the end, we aim to achieve a final ranking with more worked out scenarios with compliance with legislation and more thorough environmental assessment, and also include these stakeholder preferences using weights for these multi-criteria. Yeah, for the problem definition, there are different applications, volume and destinations, and also different volumes that we have analyzed per country and per year. So these are at the level of crop this is already known and can be extracted data. And with residues to crop ratios, we are able to convert these crop yields into crop residues that will be available. And then with secondary residues, we estimated from national production statistics and also using these residue to product ratios. That is, these are kind of blueprints, no, from also technological pathways. And then we have these current destinations, and we also measure the availability. Also, we want to include that and the variability based on including also the soil quality. So the model framework looks like this, and this is part of an AgriLoop milestone from our project, milestone 10. And this includes stakeholder consultation, knowledge on developments and within the project, and knowledge of existing systems. And this is integrating within the Brevia tool. This will yield this promising residue to product pathways. And in the end, we will have a final detailed analysis integrating the pathways, looking also at process flow sheeting optimization and further sustainability analysis. But we will today focus more on what is this Brevia. And what kind of data do you expect and what is this data framework? Well, we include the data per country, as I mentioned. We look at also these production volumes per country and composition data and macronutrient and estimated yields. This is all extracted from literature and from available public sources. And this is also part of this deliverable 1.4. And we pretend to extend this knowledge also with new conversion factors that are developed within AgriLoop, and also extraction yields that will be obtained from this experimental work. And well, thank you for your attention. I will give my floor now to my colleague Jan Bruze, who will explain more on what is in this Bravia tool and further for assessments.
Well, thank you, Marta. I think that was a very nice introduction and good motivation for this work. I will continue with an explanation of the method that we have further developed. We call this tool Bravia, which we thought is a nice abbreviation of biomass and residues valorization impact analysis tool. This tool explains, as Marta more or less explains, it explains the expected yield from a valorization pathway for a dedicated residue stream, and it also estimates sustainability impact indicators. It contains 3 modules. This is not all the information that Marta showed on her last slide, but this tool estimates the yields and impacts per kilogram or maybe per ton of residue stream. It does not provide volumes of residues. We can imagine that it's very important to be aware of that. That's a bit complementary to these modules. It is in the tool, but we will specifically orient on the value that can be generated from 1 unit of a residue stream. Essential components of that and that we distinguish in different modules are the compositions, because all the yields depend very much on the compositions of the residue streams. The yields of conversions and fractionations, so we have a module that is oriented on that. And finally, we come to the sustainability impact. I will describe them in different parts of my presentation. I start with compositions. We have made a complete inventory of all macronutrients estimates in a long list of agricultural residues. As Marta explained, these are the main crop residue, or the crop residues of the main crops produced in Europe, as well as a number which are more common in China, which is a project partner in this project. And we have identified a number of relevant secondary residues. And for these, we also have included typical chemical compositions. That means that they will not always be exact for each situation, but they are quite accurate estimates. This is still relatively simple. Now I continue with the module on conversions and fractionations. This module contains formulas that estimate the conversion yields based on the chemical compositions of the residue streams. This figure was already shown by Marta. To understand the potential added value of a conversion pathway, we should not only look at a new pathway that is being explored, but we also want to understand how it compares to existing valorization pathways. And for that reason, we have also included in our model different common applications and valorization pathways, starting with just the end-of-pipe options of wastewater treatment, landfilling, and incineration. We have some understanding of the effect of applying the material to the field. We have made models for composting, anaerobic digestion, production of biofuels, the effect of leaving a material behind in the field, efficiencies of use for as animal feed. And next to that, we have added, or we are adding upcycling pathways So the novel valorization pathways which are in scope of this project, specifically production of microbial proteins, could be for animal feed, extraction of proteins for food ingredients, and pathways for production of PHA. And I think most obvious one now is PHA. Based on the formulas, we come to estimates of yields of residue streams to certain products. Here you see part of our current results showing that per residue stream with a specific composition, we can estimate with these formulas the yield to a product. And in principle, the calculations seem quite straightforward. We use yield factors per macronutrient, and then you see one example of a formula that we currently use for PHA, for estimating the yield from PHA production. And these metrics were estimated from different literature sources, as you show here. So next element is the estimation of sustainability impacts. These are also based on the yields that we saw in the previous slide, but they are a bit more complex. We have applied a number of principles. The first place is that we have, like in full LCAs, we have to describe all outputs. That also, so including residues that may be generated in the valorization pathways, must be taken in consideration because they may have substantial environmental impact. And next, like in LCA, we have used rules for substitution and system expansion to describe also secondary outputs of a valorization pathway. If you look, for instance, at the valorization to biodiesel production, often done from crops, but possibly also can also be done from a side stream, then the primary product would be the biodiesel, and a secondary product from that process is mostly protein concentrate that is commonly used as animal feed. Also contributing to a valuable product. So in the end, we look at both valorizations to come to make the picture complete. The animals do directly contribute to food production. For instance, we produce milk, but again, there a side stream is generated manure that contains valuable nutrients for the soil, contains some persistent organic matter which is also functional in the soil. These both, they contribute again to crop production, which will be partly used for food, but also from that crop production, part will be used for animal feed. And so we try to describe the whole system. This scheme at least shows that we would use complete system expansion. Later I will show that sometimes we can do with substitution. The first sustainability impact indicator that we look at is climate impact. Here I give an example with only substitution. Again, example of biodiesel production, which on one hand induces the production of a biofuel, but next to that also contributes to feed production. Here we can simply use substitution rules. The biodiesel substitutes fossil fuels, whereas the feed for the animals substitutes regular feed ingredients, and it's quite common to use for that, to assume that that's a combination of soybean meal and wheat. And next to that, in the climate impact, we also must take in consideration processing energy use. And for that, we also use typical energy use factors. How can we compare scenarios? For instance, compare the production of biodiesel from a residue to the direct use for animal feed, or compare it to biogas production, for instance. Then through the analysis of a pathway, we can estimate the climate impact or the greenhouse gas emission savings through this alternative valorization, and compare that, subtract from that the savings that would be achieved in the reference situation, and then you get an idea about the benefit of the alternative pathway. Another example, which includes more system expansion, is anaerobic digestion. Of course, the main product generated from such a process is biogas or biomethane, which very naturally substitutes natural gas. But the residue that is generated, the digested, is not a market-demanded product, but it's still valuable because it is, again, like the manure, contributes to new crop production, and in the end induces food production. Part of the crops are used by the animals, which again generate some manure, etc. But in the end, they all contribute to food production. And in sustainability assessment, you see that on one hand, we substitute natural gas, we substitute some food ingredients. For that, we use substituting products of soybean, protein, and wheat. The organic matter generated from the digested or manure results in some carbon sequestration in the soil. The nitrogen in the digested can substitute to, in a certain extent, synthetic fertilizers, etc. So we describe the whole system because this was not an intended product, and in the end we have a combination in this case of substitution and system expansion. For different destinations, and here you see a few, we take in consideration different factors. For instance, for when leaving behind a material in the field, or when in composting, there's some carbon sequestration in the soil. There may be some N2O emissions depending on the composition of the material. Most likely in composting, at least, there is also some methane emissions, and furthermore, the nitrogen will substitute some synthetic fertilizers. In anaerobic digestion, you see comparable things, but next to that, natural gas is substituted, and we have taken consideration some more energy use, which, by the way, we also did for composting. If we use for direct use of animals, we take in consideration the substitution of typical feed ingredients, etc. So that was climate impact assessment. We also do something on circularity, or more resource use efficiency, I would say. To start with, we reflected on other indicators used for circularity. The European Union has defined an indicator, circular material use rate. This indicator counts all residue streams that are valorized as feed as 100% circular. Some other destinations like anaerobic digestion, if I remember well, they are not counted as circular, so they are 0% circular. This is again a very rigid method that overlooks a lot of technical details. It overlooks that the material may be more functional in one application than another. For instance, if we would give straw to an animal, they would the nutritional value of that straw is very low, whereas in technical applications the value can be substantially higher. Therefore, we have developed a more advanced approach. Our circularity indicator estimates the actual contribution to the generation of a final product. And that means, amongst others, that we do not consider feed a final product because it's an intermediate product to producing food. This principle essentially takes in consideration the functionality of the material in the application. So if a material has a low functionality in the process, the yield via that process will be very low to final product, and consequently the application will have low circularity. We have developed this formula for this. This expresses the energy contained in the final products of a processing line, as I presented before, and compares that to the energy content of the starting material, so the residue material. And this typically accounts for the functionality of the material in the application. We have made some refinements. I don't want to go into many details, but we appreciate proteins more than some carbohydrates because of the land productivity and the lower land productivity of protein crops, and also because of the price. And next to that, we also depreciated energy carrier products compared to food and material products. And the reason for that is also related to the economic prices for substrates. You can find details in the reference that is given on this slide. This is currently only available in Dutch, but it will soon be presented in English as well. For estimating circularity, we always use the principle of system expansion because we want to understand the yield of a product of a material to the final product. And here I show the example of biodiesel production, starting with a residue stream to again a product. From that, a byproduct is used for animal feed, which is in the end results in the production of food. Manure from the animals again contribute to that food production, as we saw in the previous slide, but now with yield factors. We take in consideration different factors in this circularity assessment. I striked through processing energy use and emissions. The reason for that is that this is not actual product that is being generated. If we, in the quantification of circularity of minerals or of metals in Europe, only the amount of metals that are being recycled is counted, and there's no accounting for the energy use in those processes. In the same, when expanding this reasoning to this domain, we think that we should not cover these elements. These elements are covered by the climate impact indicator. So this only looks at the material. And as we saw before, when composting or land application of a residue stream, the main contribution to circularity is the contribution to food production through the fertilizer function. Well, in anaerobic or wastewater treatment, there's some biomethane generated as a product. The rest is just emitted. In anaerobic digestion, again, we have biomethane production, and next to that, the digested is available as a fertilizer for the soil. Animals have more or less the same functionality. In the production of biofuels, mostly the byproduct is also used as an animal feed, so also that contributes to the circularity. In a biorefinery, we think of co-producing biofuels and food, and next to that, residues can be used for feed or for the soil application. In the PHA example that we have developed, you can see that we generate biomethane next to the plastic, and residue can again be used as a fertilizer. This was the explanation of the method. Thanks for listening to that. Now I have a few results of some case studies that we have done with it. We start with the example of a valorization of brewer's spent grain. The reference application that we assumed is the use as cattle feed. Then, taking in consideration all the factors that we mentioned in the previous slide, the greenhouse gas emission savings are estimated at 1.14 kilogram CO2 equivalent per kilogram dry matter brewer spent grain. And this use has a total degree of circularity of 35%. 35% may look small value, but if we consider that animal production typically has a protein yield of around, so that the yield from the feed to edible products around 20%, this is quite good, quite okay. We also analyzed the hypothetical case of using this for a PHA production, where the residue is anaerobically digested. And here we see that for both sustainability indicators, the result is lower than the reference application. And this is the result of the relatively high content of protein and low content of simple carbohydrates in the material. We also analyzed the option of enzymatic extraction of proteins and production of bioethanol, the biorefinery pathway described by Julian Vogt and colleagues in 2023. You can look it up in this reference. And there the products are proteins, and the main products are proteins and biofuel. And this application scores very positive in terms of climate impact as well as circularity effect, because you maintain more or less that all the proteins are used for animal feed, and next to that we generate value added fuel. Another example is the valorization of gray starch, which is commonly valorized as cattle feed. And here you see the results of that. If we use it in an anaerobic digestion instead of cattle feed, the estimated greenhouse gas emission savings are higher, but the circularity is lower. The high greenhouse gas emission savings are related to the relatively high greenhouse gas emission intensity of natural gas compared to wheat. In other words, maybe it could be beneficial to produce crops for energy production, but we know that we don't want a discussion on between fuel and food. Well, the actual effect is maybe more representatively explained by the degree of circularity, which in this case is lower than for the feed application. Another application that we have looked at based on the current figures that we have is the conversion to PHA. And there you see that in both indicators, this application is considered more sustainable than the current application of cattle feed. And that indicate that for us, that's indicated that this could be an interesting feedstock for this production. Finally, we have looked at single-cell protein production, which is still in development. What is shown here is that both in terms of greenhouse gas emission savings and circularity, this option scores very beneficial, and in that perspective is also considered the most sustainable. I would like to finish this presentation with some take-home messages. To start with, we have demonstrated a method for rapid comparison of sustainability impact of valorization options for agri-residual streams. What we saw from the results is the chosen utilization option of a byproduct. Oh no, sorry. In sustainability impact assessment of the valorization options, we should not only consider the main products, but also the utilization of byproducts or residue streams that are generated in the process pathway can have significant effect on the total impact of the valorization pathway, and therefore these must also be considered. Results are sometimes inconsistent across sustainability criteria, which is not surprising, but we saw it also back in the results. And in the examples presented, the expected sustainability gains of alternative valorization options are confirmed. And with this, I want to finalize this part of the presentation. Now I see that there is Marta has planned to ask some questions to the audience. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Marta.
Well, there is a question from Caroline, but we can address this maybe in the Q&A that will fall shortly after these questions we want to bring for the audience. Yes. So maybe in the meantime, Jan, you can also think. Yes. So the question, I'm going to share my screen because we have, before the Q&A, we have a question for you of what other cases and ideas can you think of to apply the tool developed within AgriLoop? Yes. So any ideas are welcome. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, and also you feel free to also access from the QR code. We have it's an opportunity to hear from you, to bring something to this webinar. So we are very much welcome your feedback and opinion, and later we can address the questions. So I will give some minutes, 1 minute, to see if we get some answers. Please let me know if you have any struggle to log in. Yeah, and in any case, I think, Jan, we can go through the Q&A to see if there's any questions. In the meantime, maybe we also give some time for the participants to reply. And well, there's always the possibility of sending us an email. We will also be happy to answer. Also, any possible ideas or suggestions to further improve the tool, or to apply the tool, or see if it can work for some other cases. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I saw, Marta,
Yes.
I saw one question by Caroline that we could address. And I see also more questions coming in, but maybe we could start with the question from Caroline. Yes?
Yeah, so the question from Caroline is, this analysis for beer spent grain is obviously based on dry matter content to be able to compare. However, not for all the applications, the same dry matter level will be needed. Therefore, different options per application, especially feed and food, and impacts this could impact the greenhouse gas emissions or savings a lot, and how to deal with that.
Yeah, that's a I think, very good question. I think what we have presented is quite some simplification, because we mainly look at the yields on dry matter basis, not taking in consideration any pre-processing that would be required for that. One of the valorization pathways that I have shown is just incineration. For that, we already added energy that would be required for drying the material. So what we aim for, what we do not yet take in consideration, is the use of additional energy in the pre-processing of the material to come to a desired dry matter content. So we hope to extend the tool with that functionality. And that could be either specifying the direct energy use, or just assuming a certain efficiency of a drying step before that. So in principle, that will be in. It's not in the presented results, but we can add it later.
Yeah, okay, I see. I think that it doesn't work, this QR code, or for some reasons, apparently.
I did not check. I will check it now.
Yeah, I think Caroline mentioned. Maybe we can continue for the next question.
People can put it in the chat if they
yes,
have
I
any
also
idea.
suggested that. So let's go for the next question. In the assessment, Edgar Blanco is asking, in the assessment, where did the circularity evaluation stop? Was value of digestate taken into consideration?
Yes, it's certainly in the circularity. We estimated the composition of the digested based on the composition of the feedstocks, assuming certain rate of degradation of the carbohydrates, and assuming a certain assuming that all the nitrogen ends, for instance, ends in the digestate. Then we had an idea of how much of this nitrogen was applied to the field, and how much of the persistent organic matter ended in the field. And next, based on average utilization rates for these fractions in the soil for new crops, we estimated their contribution to new crop production. And assuming that about 50 to 60% of the crops in Europe is used for animal feed, we furthermore assumed how much of these crops contribute to food production. So in that way, we tried to quantify the whole chain from the digested to new food production. So indeed, we took the complete valorization chain up to the end product, that is, in this case, food.
Yeah. Any more questions from the audience? All the questions have been answered properly? Because if yes, then maybe we can close this meeting. Sorry that the QR didn't work. There's another question I see from Rasmi. Is the project looking at developing an app to support connecting farmers to the industry for the supply of the residues?
Yes, it's a very interesting question, but I think also very broad.
Very ambitious, no?
Very ambitious.
For this project.
What we intend for the coming period, that's at least for the coming year, is to make the tool that we just demonstrated in a more complete form available for use by others. That could support farmers and other decision takers on identifying which residue stream could be interesting for them, or which application could be interesting for a residue stream. We do not intend to connect parties or the market organizations together. I think that's more an entrepreneurial thing that we are not able to provide. I hope this answer is clear.
And there are organizations also focusing on that, although I don't know what, exactly, no, if they use this kind of tool. Yes, so I don't know if there's any more questions in the chat. No. So I want to thank you all for your attentions, and also, well, feel free to reach us and with more questions or suggestions, or for potential collaboration. We'll be happy to also contact you. Yes, thank you, Caroline, and well, have a good day, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.